This is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, with Erolai, Kreese, and Mark, bringing you all your DissidiaFFOO news and talk. Welcome to Season 4, the LGBT era. Now let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to TCC, the Cedar Chronicles, live every Thursday for you, for the people, for all your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia needs. We are recording live this April 1st, 2021, and this is episode 146. Thankfully, I don't have to do this all by myself. If so, I'd be in trouble. So let me introduce my co-host for the night. First off, you love her, and you all know her. Arrow, how are you today, Arrowlay?
I'm doing great. It's been a good week for me. Finished a new YouTube graphic card, and I love it. Anyway, that's it for me. Having a great Thursday. Back to you.
Yes, and if you are subscribed to our Discord server, you can see that great artwork in the TCC supporters channel. Now, unfortunately, Kreese is taking the week off for Easter. We all wish her so well, but in her place we have Illuminasa here. Now, Illuminasa, give us a little rundown about yourself.
Well, thank you so much. There's not really too much to tell, just besides the fact that I'm 32 years old. I love good walks down the beach. I like good RNG pools. Who doesn't? And I'm just on a more serious note, I love being involved with the community and helping people out. And I just really I thank you for the opportunity of being here. It's really great.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you. And I seem to be confused why chat's asking for someone called Mark. Is there a Mark here?
Who's Mark? Wait, I thought that was you, Cedar.
I thought so too. Unless there's something weird going on about the date. Like April Fools, everybody. Of course I'm not hosting the show. There's no TCC without Mark.
I was just going to say how long you took before. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Make Mark take a shot. Well, I can take a drink, I guess, if you want, raw live. Delicious ginger beer. Yes, welcome to the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. Thank you to our TCC intern PoteauCedar for helping us just have a little fun here on this April Fool's 2021. I am Mark, and I am one of your many hosts. Cedar, feel free to stick around as long as you can, and if you need to hop out at any time, feel free, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, friend. Thank you for jumping on and helping out with us.
Oh, don't worry about it. This was a lot of fun. I'm probably going to jump out now, grab something to eat. I'll probably lurk on Discord and Twitch, but
cool.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun, and I hope everybody had fun.
Everybody give Cedar a great big thank you, and we'll see you around, and I'm sure we'll have Cedar on the show, and we don't pay him much, but he does a lot of work behind the scenes for your community, and we thank him for that. So have a great weekend, get food, get packed, and we'll talk to you later, Cedar.
Yes, everybody have a wonderful Easter, and stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take it easy.
Yes.
Well, now I'm just I was stuck with 3 Southerners. Now I'm stuck with 2 Southerners. Cedar lives in the South as well, although not originally from there. But Illuminasa, give us a little sense of your what was your first Final Fantasy experience, and how long have you been interactive with DissidiaFFOO?
Okay, thanks. I remember my first interaction with the Final Fantasy series was, I'd say I was about 7 years old, and the games were extremely hard to find, so we had to use my local video rental store. I saw a copy of Final Fantasy II for Super Nintendo, which we all know that was really for. I was like, you know what? I want to try it. So I got it, brought it home. As soon as I heard the music of the Red Wings, that was it. I was sold. So after I'd be pestering my parents to death as a kid, I'd be like, can I rent it again? Can I rent it again? Well, after getting your save file overwritten like 16 times, you keep on trying, but after that, then the video rental store got Final Fantasy III, which was 6, and loved it even more. And after that, that was it. I was sold until I got my own copy of Final Fantasy VIII for PC.
Nice, yes.
And yeah, and that was the first Final Fantasy I was able to own. And after that, really the rest is history. With DissidiaFFOO, I'm actually a day one player. I remember seeing the advertisement for it, and I was like, okay, it's a phone game. I'll give it a try. And it turns out that it was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had. And this community is probably the most awesome game community I've ever seen. I think maybe a year afterwards, maybe 2 years afterwards, I found the Crystal Chronicles, and I was actually in my car listening to a podcast, and we were talking. You guys were talking about Leon and his longevity, and it's funny how I remember that much detail, because you guys were looking at foresight and saying, well, he's not going to last that long, but. And then so I think Kreese brought up a point that it was another character for the tool belt.
Mm-hmm.
And just listening to everybody, I was like, I got to get in. I got to meet everybody. I got to do this. So within that night after work, I joined right in. And then a little bit hereafter, I started trying to make content, doing videos, going in the strategy, doing anything I could to help anybody out, because I believe that if I get through it, that's fine. But if we can all get through it together, that's the true win.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how do we how can we watch your content? I know, but if you want to tell everybody else who may not follow you, how can we watch your you generally do runs and do some other stuff as well, but how can we connect with you?
Wonderful. I have a Twitch. It'll be twitch.tv/Illuminasa. And I have a YouTube channel as well. And if I can get that pulled up real quick, I'll be able to tell you.
And you can link that in, and I think I have it in the notes as well. But yeah,
okay,
you can
wonderful.
share that in Twitch. You can search Illuminasa right on YouTube as well, I believe. DissidiaFFOO Illuminasa.
Yes, you can.
Yep.
Yes, you can.
So definitely check out our guest host and friend Illuminasa, and longtime show fan and community member. Give them a like and support there on Twitch and on YouTube. Well, Illuminasa and Arrow are going to be with us all night, and so are all of you, so it's great to be with you all. Let's get to the news of the day. First and foremost, we have some hot 80s band alt costume action. Our three new costumes, two of which are repeats. Emperor costume we've already had, and we've already had Aerith's flower dress costume as well. But a brand new costume, Celeste, her original sprite from Final Fantasy VI or 3, depending on where you were playing it, is available. So her green leotard and cape action with her awesome headbands. I love this. Thank you, Lift Freya, for that sub, and thank you all, everybody else, for the hype train. C Sam and Blartanian and Yoshi Pasta, Raw Life, Summon Biscuits, and Mistleton, just to shout everybody else for the subs. Appreciate all of those subs. So I do not have all these costumes. There was a time that I was there was some time when I was not buying all the costumes, but I did pick up this Celeste costume. So Arrow, what do you think of these costumes? And did you pick up any of them?
I did not, and I own none of the three. I like the Amano outfit so much in Diva for Celeste that I can't. I couldn't find it in me to go for the 80s workout lady, I guess, or Jane Fonda.
Jane Fonda.
And I couldn't do it. So yeah, and Emperor's costume is gorgeous, but come on, guys. The original looks like David Bowie from Labyrinth. I mean, it's kind of hard. They're both amazing outfits. So yeah. And then the third one is the Aerith one. It's adorable, but again, I had to pass. I don't know. I like Aerith how she already looks in her normal outfit. It's a really cute pink dress, and you know that little, what is it, like a little vest, button vest thing she wears, like what do they call those things? Cardigans. There we go. It kind of has like a little cardigan on. I like it. So it's just, for me, I like the regular outfits better. And if I feel that way, I don't purchase the costume.
Luminasa, what's your costume philosophy in Tifo? Are you big on costumes? Do you like just pass? What do you think of it?
No, I actually, if I fully love the costume, I will buy it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've been tomorrow I get paid, so we're gonna go full Jane Fonda tomorrow, and I'm gonna get Celeste's costume for sure. As for Emperor, I'm gonna. I believe his is inspired from the FF Origins video. I'm gonna pass on his just for the fact that he's never been really a favorite, and his costume's okay. And then with Aerith, like I said, there's some hardcore FF7 people in here that jumped all over it. Me myself, it's just one of those things that I just passed on. So, like I said, the only one I'll be going for is Celeste.
Me too. Hey, but we don't just have costumes; we have weapon gloss. The sunflower weapon gloss, which you can use on any of your Rod staff characters, including Aerith, is available. I've not bought that yet. Arrow, was this the one that you were thinking about actually getting?
Actually, yeah, I'm on the fence right now. I kind of like it. It's so cute. And guys, think about it. You can put this is a rod weapon. We can give it to Emperor. And you can give it to other characters like Strago. I don't know, who's some other funny rod characters we could potentially give this to. I mean, there's got to be a couple more. I'm not
Seymour. Flowers for Zonde. Flowers for Zonde. Yeah, that sounds like a weird young adult novel. Flowers for Zonde. Look at my pretty flowers. That is great. I'm going to buy it right now just for that.
Vivi. Yes, Vivi with the flower stick. That's a great choice, Raw Life. So yes, this is one of those that it's funny on some characters and kind of sweet and cute on some others. So I like this skin. This is probably, again, my favorite skin that I've seen on JP or Global, and the only other one that might even have compete is the cute flower bow, but I don't know when or if we will get that one this month.
Yeah, Squex Joshua, you're welcome for the 14 or 15 flowers we just sold for Flowers for Sunday. Snowboards for Vane. Yeah, so yeah, the snowboard can go on all kinds of people because everybody's got swords. So big swords. Yeah, Flowers for Sunday is the title of my second book. Yeah, it's an excellent retrospect on whatever it is. We also have early Chocobo panel missions, early April Chocobo panel missions, and thank goodness I finished my Divine Ramu illusion boards because I have to beat Ramu 15 more times and use Celeste and use Aerith and use Emperor 40 times for Emperor, and Celeste is 15 and Aerith is 15. So, yeah, unfortunately, I have to go back and do that, even though I finished all of that. So, which better, but it's not like, well, we'll get to it later. It's not like, it was like I was, working so hard to finish those boards, but it did happen. So check that, and usually Macnol at DissidiaInfo.com shares some Chocobo mission panel guides. If you're looking for where to get those mini dragons or things like that, there's some help for there. Well, let's kick into Divine Ramuh, and we have, again, our Divine boards, but we also got a level 80 Awakening batch. We got Emperor's rework, his LDBT, Celeste's rework and LD, and of course, World of Illusion Divine Ramu going up to level 40, Illusion boards, co-ops, Refined Spheres, and a Lufania, and a big fat grind that, well, it's a lot easier than it was or would have been for the next couple months. First things first, level 80 Awakenings, the Emperor, that's the actual name of the character, the Emperor, and Yuffie, Selphie, Aiko, and Lulu. Celeste is already level 80 at the time of this banner, so it was Emperor, Yuffie, Selphie, Aiko, Lulu, all got their level 80 Awakenings, which means they all do have regular call abilities. Emperor and Celeste, of course, will have their LD calls as well, but Arrow, Yuffie, Selphie, Aiko, Lulu, any decent calls among that group that you've seen so far?
Yes, I do want to point out Yuffie's first. It does a 2 buff Dispel, from what I understand of the CA, and on the target it is used on, it will do a gravity effect to knock the Brave down to 0 on the target. Great, that's pretty cool. That could be very useful in certain scenarios. I also want to point out Lulu's. It is a fire enchant for the party when it is active. I think it gives the fire enchant buff to the party. So I think it's the actual buff, like not the AA. So it will be our only option for a fire enchant until Ignis. And lastly, Aiko's, I guess, is kind of worth pointing out. If you really are into generics buffing, she will give you some, and you will get some HP regen off of that, and a heal when she uses the attack. Yep, nice stuff. Those are not very basic. Selfies is there. I guess if you really want the wall buff, and I think it's an Eyebrave buff, it's there. But to me, that one's not as noteworthy as the other 3.
Black Cloud Strife, Black Nero on YouTube reminds us that Aiko is a pocket buff extend as well. And Yoshi Pasta is saying that Lulu's call will be overlooked, an overlooked option later on. So yeah, there are some reasons to use those. Illuminasa, any thoughts about those particular call abilities, or anything we missed?
No, you pretty much covered them all. With Selphie, the Eyebrave, depending on the situation, it's something that just to keep in your back pocket, just in case. If you have an Eyebrave down or something like that, it's just something just in case. But really, compared to the others, I mean, Yuffie, she has a much better option. Even Aiko. So really, I think the MVP of this one for the cause is Yuffie, just for the fact that her utility with this and to get you out of tough situations is the best route to go.
Yeah, Black Nero is also saying if Selphie is purple, she does start with her aura buff. So that's is what it is, I guess. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. Yeah. Are there characters who really appreciate getting their EX up for the first time, like Vincent Gladio for Selphie? Potentially, yeah. Yeah, it might be something worth playing around if anybody wants to play around with that. A lot of these call abilities that aren't linked to LDs get overlooked because we have so many LD options now. You're more than likely going to bring one of your LDs over just a regular call ability, but that doesn't mean that some of these regular call abilities might not be clutch or might be useful in certain situations, like potentially wanting to charge your EX faster. Well, let's talk about the 2 characters. We had 2 different banners with this. Of course, an Emperor LD banner with Emperor's BT and the Celeste LD banner with Emperor's BT as well. Let's start with Emperor. Emperor got a rework. Emperor already had his LD. His LD returns with LD boards, and he gets a BT. Just to briefly go over his rework, because it's pretty short. Celeste gets a bigger rework. It's pretty short and sweet, but it is important. His skill 1 gets +1 use, does additional brave damage and overflow damage, and gets turn rate plus. So it basically moves his turn up faster if he presses skill 1. Likewise, skill 2 gets 2 additional uses, which is nice, and gets that turn rate plus, which again moves him up faster in the turn order if he uses his skills. What that does for Emperor is allows him to set up his traps much better. Now, Emperor, I used him in his first run with his LD, worked fine. If you're not familiar with the character, his main gimmick is he puts traps on the enemies, and then he can trigger the traps by either hitting a skill again or using his HP +++, triggers all traps on the enemies. His LD automatically hits all of the traps anyway, regardless of if they're on the enemy or not. And then if the enemy takes a turn, the traps generally trigger. Either they have a 1 turn or 2 turn limit. If his EX traps are up, it's all 1 turn. And he has all 3 of his traps. He does have a 4 trap with his BT, which we'll get to here in a second. His LD boards basically allows a more powerful LD attack. It allows his buff to be extended to 16 turns as opposed to 12, and it gives him a little bit more attack, a little bit more, it gives him bravery gen, and allows him now to never have his brave drop below 10% of his max brave when he has the subjugation scheme, which is now up from 12 to 16 turns. But that is the really big thing. So he gets a little bit of boost in terms of what that stat does to him. But he also then has this great ability where he doesn't drop below 10% of his brave, which allows him to do more damage with his traps, allows him less likely to be broken, although depending, 6,000 is not going to be a lot, but it does help because he's not always going to be at 0 brave like he was before. So those little changes really did do quite a lot for him. Absolute Domination is his burst weapon. It's a huge AoE HP attack, and that procs the Thorns of Repentance trap, which is a AoE HP attack, ignores defense, delays all targets 1 turn, and then does a brave gain. His burst effect is additional brave damage, up to 50% on debuff targets, brave damage limit increase, and brave gain. And you can check out all that information, of course, at TonberryTroupe.com. They're beautiful infographics, or on DissidiaDB, REM's database as well. Just from experience, so I mean that's if you're not familiar with Emperor, he's been around. Yeah, so it is really. Is that true? Jay Dota is saying that it's impossible for Emperor to be broken. I know that was that's not an intended thing, but that was kind of what would you say that a unforeseen consequence of the programming, correct? So is that confirmed? Did we confirm that in GL? I know that was an issue in JP, but is that he's not? Is he unable to be broken? J-Dota is saying that is the case, and if that's the case, that's super awesome for him.
Mark, I just want to cut in. I think it's like Cryle, how she can't be broken really anymore because her brave can't drop below a certain threshold. So it's sort of like always having it's like a perma.
Oh, right. Okay. No. So the effect, yeah, no, that makes sense now when I think about how it's worked in the game. So the effect always, even if the boss is doing brave damage, it always goes to 10%. So it can't go below 10%. So it can't ever go to 0 because it's always going to go to 10%. So that makes sense, which is great. Yeah. So,
yeah, I just wanted to add in too. I think Emperor really, he really excels with his high grade armor. I think it's defense down 10%. Yes, he does great with his high grade armor, and I'm not saying it's a requirement to get, but it does make life easier.
No, he does have the he has the debuff armor, and so his traps actually do debuffs. They do defense down, and the other one doesn't do anything. The BT debuff doesn't do anything, but then he does the generic speed down as well. But yeah, if you add his debuff armor aura, that's always really good. Do.
Apparently, too, Mark, from reading the Tonberry Troupe guide, I did not know this, but he on his buffs, apparently it's kind of like Sephiroth, where you have like the aura debuff with the speed down. Well, Emperor has something like that too on his debuff.
He does, correct.
And this is insane when stacked with all those debuffs. Like, you're getting a lot of that. You're going to get a lot of extra speed down and a lot of extra defense down. And then, of course, the extra little debuffs, too. You can always stack that with other people who have tactics armor or maybe another debuff somewhere. So, nice stuff.
Yeah, the Thirst for Dominion is all enemies speed down 10%, and Hell Power is also all enemies speed down 10%. Then he gives a generic speed down 20%. The debuff armor increases that fully. So, it is a stackable speed down. And again, that with that speed down, with his turn rate up, he's allowing himself to trigger traps more effectively. And as you play Emperor, especially with this rework and this LD board, his newer kit, it is much easier for you to drop his EX, which drops his 3 base, his skill 1 debuff, or his skill 1 trap, his skill 2 trap, and his EX trap. Each of those buttons has a trap that is triggered to them if you're not familiar with the character. But if you can drop that and then get extra turns because the enemy has speed down and you have turn rate up, you can just spam the HP+++, which triggers all the active traps. So if you hit skill 1, it's just going to trigger the skill 1 trap. If you hit skill 2, it's just going to trigger the skill 2 trap. If you hit LD, it hits all of them regardless. If you do EX, it hits all of them because if the EX is active. But if you do HP+++, it triggers all the traps. And so you can delay if you have his EX trap active because that delays. You can delay quite a bit and just really, I mean, it's just great. And so the speed down the speed down along with the turn rate up. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
That's what I learned with Emperor is if you can get him with a certain delay team, like for example, we all know Lightning is the queen of delay. If you threw a turn comp with or a team comp with delay, Emperor is going to be a massive powerhouse for the entire round of your fight or entire wave.
Yeah, and right now he's doing great damage. Obviously, he can be enchanted, so that means you can bring him to pretty much any content in terms of damage dealing, except content that is immune to debuffs, which is less frequent than perhaps it has been in the past. One of the big issues, of course, with Emperor is going to be debuff juggling. Now, his debuffs are usually only 1 turn, but you want all 3 at some point, all 4, and you really do want that speed down. So that's 5 debuff slots he's taking up. That doesn't mean you can't juggle around with other debuffers and figure out how to do that, because in the challenge quests, in the synergy, there are going to be other debuffs. Celeste is one of them. She has a few debuffs of her own as well. I mean, I used Celeste, Paladin, Cecil, and Emperor on this Lufania just to actually play it through. We'll talk about it in a little bit. And so you can juggle around with those debuffs, but and the 8 debuff slot's going to make that a little bit nicer, but there's going to be other characters at that point. And so, I mean, that's the major downfall. You're going to want to be careful in terms of the call, Shaded Mystic. Make sure the calls that you're bringing are not, because we have tons of calls that bring on debuffs. Make sure you're not bringing all these frame debuffs so he can't use his traps, because that's the worst thing to happen, is him not being able to place his traps. And so if there's debuff immunity, that locks him out. Or if you're putting on too many other frame debuffs, characters like Caius, or even bringing, Jack Call and maybe a couple other calls that have frame debuffs, so you're kind of out of luck. So, Arrow, anything to add on the Emperor? And then we'll see if Illuminasa has anything to add as well.
Of course. Thank you, Mark. And I just want to say, I know in the community, Emperor has always been one of those very divisive characters. You either love this kit or you hate it. Like, you find it a chore. So this means to me, if you still haven't decided to pull and you're on the fence, and I know we've had some time to think about it at this point, your playstyle preferences really matter here. But I do want to point out, if you are into big numbers, his burst phase is probably one of the highest damage ones you can have right now. The burst effect is also decent for this kind of attacker, in my opinion, because not only does he put on that trap that's really nice when it activates, he's also giving the party additional effects, like I think like extra HP and brave damage and things like that, which is pretty cool. I never would have expected that on somebody like him. So Imp's potential damage is massive in burst and even outside of burst. But again, it is going to take a lot of work building the comp for that. So just bear that in mind. And even if you don't have the burst, we got free pulls coming, so there's more chances. And it's still going to be a 2-week synergy that will help us with that Divine Ramu grind, El Nacho Reno's Lost Chapter, and the soon-to-be returning Aranea event. So yeah, I think the LD boards are great. They really rounded him out. The rework makes him a lot more consistent and a little less juggling, trying to keep like the enemy from getting turns. It's a little easier to actually on his own kind of set up his own traps and everything. I like that. So there you go. That's pretty much my thoughts. Illuminasa.
Thank you. If the one thing I could say is, if you're needing a magic damage dealer, this is where you can fill that slot easily. The Emperor has so much potential, and yes, it does require a little bit of planning to maximize his damage output, but the planning, the high risk equals the high reward in this situation. If you're able to at least stack 1 or even 2 traps at this point, you don't need all 3. You're still pumping out those large numbers that you need, because as we all know, like through Transcendence, through our previous events, our damage per turn count is getting really high. And with this, with Emperor, you're not going to have a problem meeting that damage requirement. And that's really all I have to say about him.
Yeah, I could definitely see people not liking the way the character plays because it is a little bit of a different play style, even than perhaps just waiting for the traps. So, I mean, we're going to have another trap character, although Celeste has a trap as well, but we're going to have another trap character in Trey, and I believe Trey plays fairly differently than Emperor, as in you're trying to get turns in front of the enemy and just re-trigger traps more so than waiting for the enemy to trigger the traps. Seems to be at least the preferred play style right now, at least as you beat up an old man. Well, we got somebody else. So, I mean, obviously, I think Emperor is a good pick this month. That's what I said in my tier list. You can always check that on in YouTube. But definitely somebody you can live without, because there are other magic damage dealers that don't have that same kind of upkeep and maybe a little easier to play, or just a different play style than maybe you're interested in. But I enjoy him. I think he's a fun character to play. I love David Bowie anyway. Was listening to some David Bowie and Freddie Mercury on the car ride with the family earlier today. So if you are a big fan of Under Pressure as well, then pick up the Emperor and you'll have a great time. So that brings us to Celeste, and she is coming back with a vengeance. So, Illuminasa, if you're going to take us through what Celeste got this time around.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to take you through a magical journey of Celeste. I want to say this is more of a quality of life update for Celeste than it is a rework. Finally, we have the ability to, instead of lock one target at a time or waste a C65, we can now lock all enemies now with her skill 2. Runic, it'll battery the party 210% of their initial brave. It's got 110% overflow. It's still standard on the attack. It's a 2 brave plus HP attack of 130% overflow. Then her brave gain from that is 40% HP damage, 110% overflow. Now that still gives her standard buff of brave magic absorb, and you have +1 use of that, and it also gives her an attack up, and that lasts for 6 turns on the Brave Magic Absorb. The attack up's 4 turns. As always, you're going to have to be able to keep that up and know when it's about to run out, so that way you can refresh the skill. And as always with her skill 2, or I'm sorry, with her EX, Spinning Edge, it will give her the self skill or the self buff of Room Knot, which is attack up for 5 turns. With everything being really fast on Celeste, you really don't have to worry about keeping up, but you are going to have to make sure and watch out for her skill 2, Runic. Just make sure you keep that up, because once that buff is up, she's not absorbing magic damage anymore. Now, with that comes a drawback. They all have to be targeting her, so if the enemy does an all attack, she may still absorb, but the other 2 characters are left out. That's something to keep note of. Now, talk about what we were all pulling for, or most of us were pulling for, was her LD, her Freeze Dive. Her Freeze Dive is a 3 AoE Brave plus split HP attack, first off. Then the second time, it is an 8 AoE Brave plus split HP, which is up to 230% overflow. That's pretty good. Then she gets Brave gain of 20% HP damage after the first HP. She heals the party 50% HP damage, 35% max HP. Batteries the party 20% HP damage. And that will also give her the Brave Magic Absorb, and it'll extend the duration 2 turns. And that'll also debuff everybody with the Magic Tech Ice Blocks, which is her, I wouldn't call it a counter, but it's an after effect. If an enemy attacks, she'll go, the Magic Tech Ice Blocks will kind of hit them after their turn, providing more damage. And also another debuff, they'll get Ice Resist down for 4 turns. So that's her LD is just something, it's really wonderful to have. She does lack an attack, but the thing is, she's not there as a primary attacker. She's there as a tank, and now as an enchant and imperiler. And then after her enemy's turn, after the enemy's inflicted, you get 100% Eye Brave, 3 Brave plus HP, heal and battery party, 20%. 20% HP damage, 10% max HP. Now, what does that mean for the entire party? The party totals that you get from utilizing Celeste is an attack 30% up, max brave plus 40%, speed plus 20%, magic damage minus 60%. So even though that she will not be able to cover a all attack with her tanking ability, if it's a magic enemy, they're still receiving minus 60% magic damage taken. So that's pretty good. And also with her HP damage, let's say they're doing an all HP attack, HP damage taken is minus 30%. It's a great ability. It's a great party total to have when you're going to have a really tough magic team you're going to have to fight against. So it's always gone as pull priority. I've always heard this is you always pull for supports first, tanks second, and DPS is a third. With Celeste, she is a tank. She is the only magic tank that specifies in magic. So passing her, I believe she is. I can't tell anybody what to pull, what not to pull, but she is greatly a good asset and a tool on the tool belt, just in case we come into some future content that does require magic. That does require a magic tank.
Yeah, I love Celeste. She's just completely turned around into a very, very usable character, and that's what, that's one of the things I love about this game. She was, I never used her really before in the previous eras, but she was not unuseful in the times that she came out before. But now she really has this ability to, yes, she's still primarily focused on magic damage, but she does cover some AoE damage. She does cover all damage. She enchants and perils. She heals. She batteries. She's much more of an overall coverage than she was, even though she's particularly focused on the magic damage. But yeah, and there, besides Guy, there's only one other enchant tank as well, and so those roles as enchant and periler is really nice as well. Yeah, the chat was saying a little earlier that, one of the big problems with Celeste is because you're not necessarily hitting Runic all of the time, your Brave Plus may fall off, and you may just have a blue Brave attack if you haven't reorganized your buttons, which you should probably do. And that feels really weird to have a blue Brave attack in the. But you'd never ever use her Brave Plus. Her Brave Plus is complete garbage. It is the worst possible button you could press. It is literally just a one Brave attack that's ice damage, and she's already enchanted, so it really doesn't matter. So there's like everything else does it.
Yeah, the only reason I have that blue button still up there is it reminds me of, hey, you forgot to hit Runic.
Yeah, well, it is a good reminder of, maybe I should check my buffs. So it's kind of a built-in buff timer, so that's helpful. I will say, I will have to admit that before I shoot it over to Arrow, that I didn't realize that she had a trap until I think yesterday sometime. Even though I had been playing with the character, I wasn't paying attention, obviously, because I was auto-plussing. But yeah, I realized that, because, Emperor's traps are going off. And so there's 6 minutes of animations after the enemy attacks. I'm like, oh, what's that? Oh, that's her. I forgot. She has a trap too. How fun is that? Everybody gets traps this month. It's trap month. Trap banner, trap month. No, anyway. Arrow, what are your thoughts on Celeste?
I actually did use her and build her to purple in the Chaos era. Freaking amazing character, but totally a luxury at the time of her release. Honestly, I'll stand by that. But I got a lot of use out of her when I did purple her, and I had a blast because she was one of the first characters with that Brave Refund, one of the best and most underrated mechanics in the game. I stand by that too. Okay, so now we have 2 party ice enchanters. And the great thing about them is that they are very different in their role coverage. So if you want to, you can play them together, but you don't have to. Dope. I like that because you can stack enchant bonuses, guys. Yeah. I want to remind you of that. So yes, Onion's AA ability and then Celeste's ice enchant will stack. Dope. All right, so her tanking style has always been a little bit niche before because, it was mostly magic damage. We all took her to random fights with physical being, very physical heavy, but that was because you could just rely on the Brave Refunds to help get you through generally. But now she has, that fizz resist and everything. So she's much more well-rounded. She can tank some physical hits for you now. Much, much better than before. And just the well-rounded coverage is insane. It just makes it very easy now to slot other choices to round out your party. She can pretty much cover a good wide role. So then you can just grab your Aura bot and then your big damage dealer and bam, you've got a good team probably right out the door. So very easy to kind of set up now as long as you don't bring too many, buffs because she does take a lot of her own buff slots. So just be aware of that. Build around it. If you don't mind the generics on her falling off, hey, who cares then, Give her some better buffs. I also appreciate that she got the Unity high armor like how Kuja got. So it seems to me they like giving some of our enchanters Unity high armor, and some of them get like support or something else. But I appreciate that she got Unity. That just makes the characters better, and she's enabling your damage dealer to do even more brave damage. Love that. All right, those are my thoughts. I'll send it back your way, Mark.
Mino says that Guy is doing more damage and is the superior enchanting tank. So I'll leave that up to you because I bet none of you pulled on Guy. So pick and choose. Yeah, if you have Guy, skip Celeste.
Oh yes, Mark. I forgot to add also. There was one thing that was really bothering me with Celeste at first was her C65, which is set block all.
Yes.
Well, with her skill too, guess what? We lock everybody anyways. But the only benefit to her C65 and this, it's 5 turns, and with her C65, you do get a party attack 10% plus. So
right,
so there is a reason to use it. It's just you just might as well get the attack 10% and just go ahead and do that. Yeah, the C65 isn't that great. It's dated for what it is now, but if you're at a point where you're needing more, just a little more attack to pump those numbers up, then just go ahead and use it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if enemies can clear their debuffs, you can throw that back on if you really need to get in a pinch. But yeah, I mean, often I forget the AAs are even in the game with some of these characters, but don't forget that 10% up to attack. Hey, well, looking at the podcast polls, and I thank Quetzalma of MateriaBot fame for setting these up. If we look at the first one, which was, let me see, Emperor, yes, Emperor LD. Of course, we've already had Emperor LD. We had among 12 servers, so quite a few servers participating in this. Of course, you can go to our Discord, tccpodcast.com, go to podcast polls under podcast, and vote on your plans. 1 person willing to pity the BT, 5 willing to pity the LD, 3 using gems, 29 tickets, and 132 skipping. I bet that changed after a few hours of Divine Boards, but maybe not. We'll get to that here in a minute. On the other hand, Celeste, 2 people willing to pity the BT, 46 people willing to pity the LD, 8 using gems, 134 tickets, and only 12 people planning to skip this great banner. And I guess most of you probably pulled. Again, I've always been big on all the tanks and all the supports. If you can pick them up, pick them up. They won't all work all of the time, but if you have enough of the tanks, then you're going to have a nice option. They're not required, as nothing is. You've never needed a tank, but there are quite a few times that they make life easier for you. So those were the 2 characters and the 2 banners. CSDX is like, yeah, I pulled for the auto farm. I pulled for multiple reasons, but yeah, the auto farm really helps. So we do have Divine Ramu. He gets his level 40. And what's I was just thinking about this before the show, and I didn't write it down. Level 40 Ramu is does a 6-hit, 1200 power magic lightning attack, group attack with HP damage at level 40. The difference is it inflicts 1 turn judgment bolt, grants party lightning enchant, party can heal HP damage 10% beyond limit. That's what all the level 40s are going to do. But it inflicts that 1 turn of judgment bolt. So that's going to be the new thing at level 40. So you can schlup on that debuff. if you didn't need any more debuffs, there is that. So you can use, of course, with your illusion points, go through your 30 illusion boards, claiming various different prizes. It ends up being, if we look at Divine Ramu, maybe I'll jump to gameplay here as well. If you look at all of your Divine boards, and you can go back to when we introduced this to see, kind of walk through this. 600 of these, the first things here, which are to upgrade Ramu to level 40, 40,000 gems, 400 tickets, and 100 of each nugget, or each, nuggets to make the ingots. So that's how you do all the boards. Of course, it bumps up the actual summon and allows him to get better. So to do that, you need to be able to actually do this. That's Lufania, isn't it? To do this Cosmos fight of Divine Ramu, and to get points by doing that. So the reason that you're able to do that a little bit easier these days is because of Auto Plus. Now, Japan did not get Auto Plus for 2 more summons. So they didn't have Auto Plus for Ramu. They didn't have Auto Plus for Alexander. They got Auto Plus on Divine Brothers, so which would be like 3-4 months from now. As you see right now, I'm on Divine, or I'm on Auto Plus in the Chaos fight. I'm using Aerith at the moment with all of her skills active, so that's not going to be ideal, but it will be fine for the demonstration at least. I was able to complete my summon boards just because I was Auto Plussing while I was doing 100 other things. You get more points per run if you use 3 synergy characters, you get more points per run if you have the Moogle Pass. Now, if you don't have the synergy characters and you don't want to pull, you can still use Auto Plus. You just bring your 3 best characters that can beat this chaos on Auto Plus. And even if you don't have the Moogle Pass, it's just going to take a lot longer. I mean, it's just going to take considerably longer. Inkwelder of the Tonberry Troupe did do some math to figure out if it was more efficient to bring a character like Kuja and 2 other synergies, or to bring a weaker character like Yuffie, who was synergy but not as powerful as like Kuja, and the full synergy team generally won. Now that we have Aerith, I think it's even better if you remove her skill 1 and skill 2 and just let her do her LD and EX attack. It is a lot faster minutes-wise over the course of having to run these fights over and over and over and over again. But again, Auto Plus, I think, is a game changer. You don't have to sit there and just fight this Cosmos fight over and over again 75, 100 times, how many ever times it takes, depending on how many points you are getting, whether you're using full synergy or whether you're on the Moogle Pass. But I'm done. It was easy. I've been really busy this week. We've been going places, doing all kinds of stuff. I've been working, but I'm already done because I've just, had the phone in my pocket as I'm walking around, as I'm doing work, as I'm driving. I mean, just press the button and let it go, and stop and press it again and let it go. So, Arrow, what are your what are your thoughts on the board grind? How did you approach it, etc.?
Board grind for me was a joke. I just set it on Auto Plus. I got a YouTube title card done out of it, so that should tell you how little attention I was paying. Anyway, I love it. Thank you, Auto Plus. Thank you for existing, because I don't want to do a boring fight a zillion times over, doing the same repetitive motions over and over. I don't find that engaging. But I did use the best team, and honestly, I got Aerith yesterday. Yep, spoiler. But anyway, it went even faster. I'm kind of glad I did not have her initially, because then it would have been far more distracting. I would have had to keep looking at the game a lot more, because the fights would be a lot faster. So when I used Yuffie in the 3rd slot, it was a lot easy. I didn't have to pay as much attention. It took about, a couple minutes, and I wouldn't have to look at it for a bit. I'm done with the Divine Grind because of it. And, yep, I don't have anything else really to say on the grind. It's a lot more pleasant this time than it was the last time. Luminasa.
Yeah, Kylax is saying Auto Plus is nice on the carpal tunnel tendonitis. I agree 100% on that. Yeah, Luminasa, how's your illusion board grind going?
Oh, I used Auto Plus. At first, I was trying to figure out a decent team to do it the fastest. I ended up using Celeste, Emperor, and Yuffie. I just took off her EX, and I believe there's her skill 1.
Skill 1. Yep.
Yeah. So I had that team set up. I ran it. It was easy. It was great. I was surprised at how quick I got it done, because I slacked on the previous illusion board, and I only got him to level 34. So with Auto Plus, it's definitely the best quality of life we've had in a while. And like I said, it made this a cakewalk.
Yeah, now if somebody in chat said, I think maybe Hodor said, if we can get auto retries so you don't have to keep pressing the button every once in a while. There are games that have that, so never say never, because it could be a thing here. There is also a co-op, and the co-op gives you various different rewards, but also has refined spheres. Among the refined spheres in this batch, which I think are Emperor, Celeste, Yuffie, Lulu, Aiko, Selfie. Yeah, I think those are the 6. Really, the winner for me, and I'll let the other 2 throw their hat in here. I'm going to try to get up to the screen here to see the series. I have not done co-ops here. I need to do that. Thundering Judgment, there it is. So among these, for me personally, Yuffie is the winner. If you're not familiar with what Yuffie's sphere is, it is an E sphere. When inflicting a debuff on a target, which pretty much every person who can use an E-Sphere can inflict debuffs because that's the debuff sphere. Raises their max brave and attack by 4% for 3 turns. So if you have an E-Sphere character that can put a debuff on an opponent every 3 turns, this is likely the best sphere in their game, the best refined sphere for them. Compare that to Emperors. Emperors is 4% attack for 6 turns. So you don't get that max brave as well. So yeah, I mean, there I'm sure are exceptions. Emperor Sphere might be good for certain cases like Cloud or Cam who don't debuff in every single skill. Yeah, so be aware of that. Emperors is 6 turns for the E. Yuffie is 3 turns for attack and max brave. But I would definitely make a few of each of those. I'm not sure any of the other ones are worth too much, but maybe a couple of each. Arrow, any thoughts on the refined spheres?
Yuffie's the obvious winner this time around. And Emperor's is okay, but I just feel like the guide that is on MacNull's DissidiaFFOO site is correct in stating that say more or see more, however you want to say it, and Yuffie are generally going to be the better E-spheres for most characters. Now, Emperor's is not that, so I'm going to give that one second place. But do you need to craft them? Probably not. I think Seymour is supposed to come back as synergy in a little while, too. So if you needed to craft some more of those, he's coming back eventually. And then after that, the only other sphere that even slightly interests me is I doubt I probably will craft any yet past the ingot requirement, so I can get my free ingots, is the selfie one. But that's just because it happens to have an aura, but there's just better sea spheres that give stats for your party. So it's really, it's Eye Brave and Max Brave, and there's no attack attached to that, so I don't like that. But if you really just need some refined spheres, I guess you can make some of those too. Otherwise, I'm just not feeling it with this set. Overall, they're kind of to me. So, and especially since we just got done with the last raid where there were some better spheres to make, it just kind of makes it hard to justify. So that's my thoughts on Luminosa.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you guys. Yuffie's sphere is probably the best one to farm at this point. I actually picked up a couple of Celeste spheres just in case. The initial bravery fund, it's kind of a nice thing. It's 16%. It's not as great as her original sphere, of course, but it was something to pick up just in case there's something that could possibly fill it. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, Yuffie was the way to go for this one. Mark?
Yeah, Blart, we did 19 Pestle spheres. Do 35 Yuffie spheres, though. No, that's not based on anything. If you want to figure out exactly how many Yuffie spheres you would need, I don't know. I just make a bunch. We know definitely 19 Pestle spheres were going to be good for a while. You probably don't need to make that many Yuffie spheres, but hey, make a few. I need to work on some Brave Damage Up A spheres. That's going to be my next looking out for when the next good. Yeah, exactly 19 Yuffie spheres. 19 spheres just seems like a good number in general. Yeah, Lufania. Let's talk about the Lufania fight, because that is something that we generally do on the show. So it is Ultima Ramuh, and he's a big fat jerk. And he of course is weak to ice and absorbs lightning and earth. He is immune to defense down, attack down, paralyze, terror, Eldnarsh's thing, and HP attack disable. Once he goes below 80% health, he does get his Lufania orb. The only way to tick the orb up is to delay Ramuh with an effect. So either an actual delay or to have a trap for example, that delays. Yeah, CSAM, bring Leo. Leo is Lufania viable. I did say that, and CSAM, some others jumped on that, and we were able to pull poor General Leo through this fight. Big fat brave reduction. The recast ability is horrible, and you probably don't want to take it, and that's why the majority of people decided to just try to delay him to death, because that recast electric vortex is really, really, really bad and will most likely kill you. Now, I will come back to that because there's a way to survive it. There's most likely a few ways to do that. But throughout the fight, he also gets these crystals, summons crystals like he did before. He can also heal the crystals as well. While the crystals are around 90% of his brave damage is resisted, and you cannot knock him back. And so you want to kill the crystals, he weakens, and go back. And he does summon them. I don't know if he summons them at particular HP thresholds, because it doesn't seem like that. It seems like it's a little bit more random throughout the fight, but he does summon them generally several times. It is an off-turn summon of the crystals. So he will summon the crystals not on his turn, but on your turn while you are fighting him. There are two basic strategies for this fight. I'll let Arrow and Illuminasa talk about theirs. The first strategy is huge damage mitigation, and of course, traps. And so Emperor, Celeste, and Paladin Cecil seem to be kind of the go-to for that. With Celeste and Paladin Cecil's damage mitigation, you are able to survive the recast ability barely. It's real close, but you are able to survive it, and it feels great, and you better heal up pretty quick because you will not take another attack. And so I did take that. I did take that approach using Emperor as my private. This was before I had his burst weapon. I was able to do it fine, and I didn't have Aerith, of course. I was bringing Paladin Cecil. So with enough delay, because of the traps, you kind of have to make sure that you use the traps appropriately. I think I did bring Cloud and Ramza as delay calls, and so you able to tick the orb up. But once you got into the summon phase, the orb was going back up to almost 30, so that wasn't a big issue. But yeah, you really need to have huge damage mitigation if you're going to be able to tank the orb. The other strategy is just to delay him to death using, I think if you look at DissidiaInfo.com, the call to arms, the number one character used in the call to arms, which of right now there are 70 entries, 70 videos entered, is Kais. Kais and Cloud are the two top tiers. Delay, launch, delay. Celeste, Emperor are 3 and 4. Ramza, Dark Knight Cecil are 5 and 6. And Paladin Cecil and Lightning, yes, even though there's Absorb on the top. And Onion Knight, Garland, Aerith, Squall. Probably more Aerith later. Yes, Kistis, General Leo, they all made appearances because you can just delay him, not give him turns, and don't die. But it is a tight, as Blart is saying, it is a tight requirement of 65 turns. So you can see there, I did it with my defensive team in 53. So you don't have a lot of wiggle room if you're going in there. Arrow, how did you approach this fight? And anything else that I forgot?
Okay, so first off, Mark, I just want to point out that on the recast, you can't mitigate the damage with like HP damage reduction. So this is bullcrap because the fight, it's a full AoE HP attack, and there are few ways to deal with it. It's like, okay, so you get broken, you're super dead. Even if you don't get broken, you're probably dead. The reason why you would live the recast is because you have to have enough HP, and thankfully, Paladin Cecil gives you more HP. Yeah. Yes. And General Leo would too. So I guess if you were trying to do a run with him, he would kind of technically work. I think he might give you enough HP. Anyway, so you have to debuff him, I think, to lower the damage taken, like by lowering his attack or using RCL's capacity break debuff. I had seen around from some people that does prevent the Brave gain on the recast. But then at that point, you've still got to win in 65 turns, and now you're dealing with crystals. Anyway, you can also dodge the attack. It's not a guaranteed HP recast attack. So I guess if you somehow wanted to, you could try bringing Kimari or Edge, but I don't think that's going to work. So those were the things I noticed for living. Oh, and then the Freya Saga guy actually, I think, did do something with that. I'll share a link with the Freya Saga guy. He used Freya for this, and that would help you also live the recast ability. Good job. So I do not like this design because on one hand, it's like, okay, I want to play against the boss, but the game doesn't really want you to play against the boss with most general teams. Like, I'm not saying you can't do it, but like, it reminds me a little bit of like the Alexander Chaos summon fight, where like you want to do as much damage as you can before letting Ramu have much time to react. And the orb obviously is trying to showcase that strategy because it's all about delaying, right? So I guess I would have less issues with this recast if it was similar to Prompta, where yes, those did AoE HP attacks too, but like unless you got broken, you generally would live it. I mean, you might be really hurt, but you live. And I think that would have been a better way to encourage things. Then on top of that, like you got to win those 65 turns here, though. It's not like Prompta where you got a little bit more time. Hold on. I got to scroll down a little bit. Okay, so back on my notes. So even I just think it was a dumb decision to have tight turns and a dumb recast mechanic and a dumb crystal mechanic all together. Because the crystal mechanic, I got to talk about that. The crystals, when they're summoned, like you said, they lower your the brave damage that Ramu takes. And I guess they want you to use like AoE attacks to help deal a lot of damage to not only the crystals, but to Ramu. But the thing is, at the same time, every time those crystals get a turn, they are swapping turns with Ramu. And the only way they won't do that is apparently you can HP silence the crystals and they won't be able to swap. I saw some comments about that earlier in our chat this week. So you got a bunch of dumb stuff all together. And it just feels like they basically told you, don't let this boss get a lot of actions. That's basically what they've told you. And I don't like that. I think I'm just not into this kind of style of fight. Yes, I did win it. Yes, I did cheese it. I zero-turned it with Onion Knight, Dark Knight Cecil, and Kistis. And I guess if you're into these kind of fights, hey, enjoy it. We got a lot of difficult fights coming up ahead, I'm sure. So this is one of the easiest Lufanias ever that we can cheese if you have the right characters. But if you don't, it's okay. It's permanent content. Come back to it later. We got lots of delayers coming in the future that will definitely help you with this fight. Anyway, that's all I got for my notes. I'm going to pass it over to our guest, Illuminasa.
Thank you, Arrow. Well, for this fight, I can't tell you what the mechanics are. I can't tell you anything besides the orb, because thanks to Blardian, I used Balthier, Cecil, a Paladin Cecil, and Lightning. At 0 turns, had no issues whatsoever. With Lightning skill 1 did absolutely no damage whatsoever, and that was to be expected with it being Lightning affiliated. But her skill 2, on the other hand, did do plenty of damage, and as well as her EX. So with that was a saving grace. You just had to use a little bit of knowing when to use what skill, and being sure you're able to get that delay in time. But in reality, I know this Lufania fight was probably supposed to stop Lightning from being used, but it did not whatsoever. I really did. She made this fight so easy for me. I think I beat it in maybe 55 turns. It was not bad at all. And with Balthier's R buffs and Pestle being right there with his damage, it was an easy fight. I had no problems with it, and thank goodness for Lightning. So back to you, Mark.
Arrow, did you share what team you used?
Yes, I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. No worries. I used Onion Knight, Dark Knight Cecil, and Kistis. I did use my very new shiny Onion Knight burst to help me win and the very tight 65 turn count. I will share that video shortly.
So there, as frustrating as it may be, there are some options. Of course, go to the call to arms at DissidiaInfo.com. You can check out some runs. Illuminasa and Arrow both have runs. Blart apparently has a run, as well as many of our other friends do. And so you can come to TCCpodcast.com, get on our Discord, and find more runs from that team. Well, that's not the only... No, it's not the only event. We got a surprise April Fool's event. Challenge, ? From Magic Pots. And the Magic Pots come to challenge us to April Fool's Trivia. Some great questions. But before we get into the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Magic, level 200, or level 1, level 401. 401 content. This is endgame content. But before we get into that, we really need to talk about the surprise character that we knew because it was announced Aerith was coming. It was announced she was getting her costume. It was announced she was going to get a sunflower, but we did not have a date. And so they paired her with this. They put her on a banner with herself and Emperor Burst. It is a banner where you can get off banners. Yes, there is a rate up on her EX. Higher chance. So back in the day, this is how all of our banners were. But her LD, her EX, Emperor's BT are on this. And you can get off banners. Wonderful, wonderful off banners. But what's Aerith get? She doesn't get a rework. She does get level 80. And she does get level 80 boards. And she gets a little bit more complicated than she was in her last phase. So basically she, of course, doesn't get any updates to her regular skills, but she does get the LD effect Seal Evil. Batteries the party, does an HP attack, 8-hit AoE Brave plus single target HP attack. Gives herself the buff framed Seal Evil, and gives the enemies Planet Admonition for 2 turns as a framed debuff. Planet's Admonition does HP damage taken up 10% and prevents the enemies from buffing. So her debuff, if you just focus on her debuff, it's kind of it's dispelling without it's preventative buffing, preventative debuffing, not allowing the enemies to buff. Instead of having to dispel them, you can throw up her LD debuff, and that will prevent them from buffing if you know that they are going to buff. Aerith does get a follow-up from Seal Evil, so as long as Seal Evil is active, it reduces the, this is after she deals braver HP damage, reduces the target's brave by 100% of her attack, so that attack stat is going to be now mandatory for her arts. Batteries the party based on 100% of attack, does an HP attack, does not consume brave, extends her own buffs by 1 turn, and then does 1 target of Planet's Admonition. That's where the Planet's Admonition comes from. Her new buff, Seal Evil, gives party debuff evasion 100%, which is nice, and all enemies attack and speed down 20%, defense down 60%. That is an aura on her, and that cannot be extended. Her arts, because Aerith is a cursed art character, are not going to be double cursed arts. You are definitely going to want attack 108, healing wind, charge, plus boost all. That's the one that gives healing wind plus 1, and party brave, max brave 15. That's my opinion. That's Tonberry Troupe's opinion. I think a lot of other people. You definitely want that attack up because a lot of her things based on attack these days. Oh, where to start with Aerith? She's fine. You know, she's a favorite of so many. If you like her, great. She's doing decent auras, right? Overall, 100 attack, 75% max brave, 80% eye brave, defense 10%, overflow 30%, overflow stolen 30%, gain 20%, just on one party buff slot. Pretty cool, right? That's nothing to sneeze at. She's super great burst healer. I guess she's doing debuff evasion, which is nice. She can prevent buffs, which is nice. I don't think she's necessary, and she's a little weird to play. You're going to be hitting HP++ a lot, or HP+++, I should say, a lot. You're probably not going to use Healing Wind or Prayer of the Central almost ever, unless you really need that healing up real quick. But you're going to be using Fury Brand a lot and HP+++ a lot. So Unbrave++ also you can use as well. That triggers it. So the follow-up. But yeah, I don't know. I did end up throwing a couple hundred tickets and then ended up getting her on my free daily draw. I don't think CSDX. Healing Wind does give the Eye Brave up to her, and Sentra's Favor gives attack up to her as well. So you definitely want to use the button sometimes. You're just not going to be using it a lot. It's not. She's not a character you're going to be relying on using her skills like so many of our characters just have. You just press the skills over and over again. That's just really not how her playstyle works. So I'm kind of on her. I think if she's a favorite and you want to throw some tickets, if you already have her kit, great. It's nice to have another healer. But if you don't have it and you're not a big fan of the character, I think you'll be fine to skip her and pretty much anybody else this month, very truthfully. But Arrow, you have her. What do you think of Aerith?
I am enjoying her. I got her LD very cheap on my Gotcha Pull video. I was shocked getting it in 32 tickets. Anyway, I just want to point out two things that were explained to me just a little bit ago from Mino and Inkwelder. The first is that Mino has informed me that the chance for Aerith weapons on this banner is the same as any featured character on any other banner. Yeah. So yes, she's not like, just because there's all these extra weapons on here, that doesn't matter. The chance for an Aerith weapon is the same as always. Okay, and the other thing is from Inkwelder, and I'm quoting here, and it's actually a higher chance of getting her EX than normal too. The normal rate is 0.75. I'm not sure what the exact rate is on the gotcha in game, but I will take his word for it because they are far better at math and probably read things far better. And Mino, I did not see your second half of your message, but
it's 11.25%.
11 point. Okay, awesome. So there you go. And Mino, I am sorry I did not read the second half of your message. If you would send it to me again, I will be glad to read it for you. Anyway, yeah, she's a healer. She's like the best burst healer in the game. Like there's nobody who can compete with her burst healing really. About her skills. The only times you may need to consider her using a skill over HP+++ is if you were to charge into your EX, like you were to use the skill because she has very high turn rates on her skills.
Very high turn rate.
You might get another turn right after, or very, very like one more character will take a turn and then it'll be her turn. And then that'll get you into the EX. That may be something you want to do. So there you go. That would be the only times I would maybe consider skills at this point, because she extends her own buffs by one turn other than her LD buff when she uses HP+++. Yeah. She is a bit of a turn stealer. I do want to point that out. This isn't like Penilla where you get a lot of free actions from using like your skills, especially your haste Roombas. She's always eating a turn whenever she does anything. So that doesn't matter if it's Brave plus, HP plus, a skill, EX, LD, all of it. And so this isn't like Penilla where she isn't eating skills on some of her stuff. No. Aerith is always going to want to eat turns, and she has high turn rate. This is not a character for everybody to really get the most out of, but if you like very speedy characters and the HP++ shenanigans and skill high turn rate shenanigans interest you, this is a strong character. She really does bring a lot to a party with all those support auras that she has. And you can't underestimate Brave Gain Overflow. And I think she also now has the what is it called? The Brave Battery Overflow, I think is what it's called. I don't remember exactly, but I think she has that too. So it's just a lot of stuff here. And if you can kind of play around with her negatives, she'll be a really great character. LD has added a lot. That whole thing where you can't buff, yeah, I didn't even think about it, but that would probably help you out a lot with Ramuh's recast. So if you wanted to play it more legit, she would help you out a lot there. And if you are somebody who is newer and you're kind of struggling to get through some of these fights, Aerith is one of our very few characters who can revive a dead character, and that will remove the what is it called, the KO requirement. So you won't lose that that thing, but you will tank your score. But for chaos, that may not matter. You just want those nuggets early on. So just something to think about. If you happen to get her cheap, go for it. Build her. She's fine. She's very easy to play for newbies, I think, and she'll carry you to end game. So that's always nice. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Illuminasa.
Thanks, Arrow. I actually didn't know she was actually even coming out relatively soon until 20 minutes before I looked at the TCC Discord, and they're like, "We think she's coming out," and I'm like, "What?" So at 10 o'clock, I waited, or 10 my time, and yeah, came out. And I was able to get her relatively good or easy, and like I had no clue what I was doing. Like I used her for like tier 12 or 13 in entropy, and that's the last time I've touched her. After I equipped her skills and everything, and I was reading over what she does. Yeah, she seems good at what she does when with her Seal Evil skill. But mostly for me, I mean, she's probably going to be one of those characters for me that I'm just going to have to be like, hey, you have this person, you can use them, because I'm going to forget using Aerith. I'm just going to forget, and I'll end up using different options. So I'm for the people that were hyped about her. If you got her, I'm glad for you. This was just one of those characters I just didn't really give any second thought to. Mark?
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously she's a fan favorite, so people are going to find ways to use her. She's not bad at all, but definitely I feel like there's going to be a lot of other options moving forward. And it's going to be one of those things. Yeah, do I want to use Aerith, or do I want to use somebody else? And what's going to be the other option? So we also got this Magic Pot event, and so you can go to either the Novice or Master versions of the Magic Pot fight. You don't want to do it with Auto Plus, though. That's a definite no. And what you're going to see is you're going to see 2 magic pots. You've probably all done this one. And you have 10 rounds. They're going to ask you questions that are true and false based on various different Final Fantasy games. For example, this question it's asking me, Final Fantasy X-2's Pain travels the world as a member of YRP, Kupo. And you have to say, is that true or false? True is circle. False is X. And you just need to do a Braver HP attack on, for example, this one would be true. Let me do here. Yeah, I just do brave attacks. And, oh, no, I was wrong. Whoops. Now they get huge brave and kill you. So you have to get 10 right in a row. I already did both of these, obviously. Yes, I want to give up. So if you fail, you get killed. You have to do it again. It doesn't hurt you to fail. Besides, you have to do it all again. So, yes, it is the Gull Wings. Yes. I did that intentionally so that you could see what it would be like. I know some people were afraid of, oh, no, whatever you do it. But yes, Mino is saying you can restart the wave. So if you pause and then restart, you get the exact same question, Ty. So that is one way to deal with that. Or you can go... Kyrie saying, I disagree with this question. That is incorrect information. So there's some debate on these particular questions. Or you can go to Reddit, and I believe Serial posted just the answers to it. So you can do that as well. So it's a little fun thing. It's stupid, but you get an EX token for doing the Novice, and you get a BT token for doing the Master. So, hey, it's free stuff, and it's a little fun thing. The trivia is a lot better than, what was the make and model of Squex Joshua's first car? What was the gross sales of Squex third quarter mobile gains? How many times did chat say hashtag or excuse me !raffle during the stream on April 1st, 2017. How many costumes did I sell? How many sunflower weapon glosses have you sold? So it's pretty easy. Some of them might be questionable, but for the most part, I certainly didn't have any issue going through them. I actually thought the novice questions were a little bit harder than the master questions. But I suppose that just has to do with your the particular focus of Final Fantasy that you have. So, Arrow, how did you find the trivia, and what did you think of this event?
I always enjoy the weird April Fool's events they've been doing. I love the little stupid Mog summon thing we got last year, and I kind of wish they had brought that back, even if like we couldn't repeat the rewards, like just for new players to be able to do the event and get the rewards would have been nice. I enjoy it, of course. This new event with trivia, I thought it was kind of funny. Some of the questions, I'm like, that one I don't think is so wrong, but for me, the one that got me was the Alize question. I couldn't remember what class she was, and they asked if she was like an Arcanist in FF14. So I look it up, and apparently in a later patch, or not a patch, but expansion of the game, she is an Arcanist. And so I was like, okay, I guess. And I got it wrong. Guys, I don't play the MMOs, so please understand. Like, we're all going to get hung up on different questions. So that was mine. And I figured out afterwards, oh, I guess she wasn't, I guess. And then I saw the other class that she was online when I looked it up as Red Mage, and I was like, okay, I guess. I mean, technically I wasn't wrong, but technically I guess I was too. And one other thing, I just want to say, I'm so glad they rolled Aerith's art into the Ramu grind co-op, because, oh my gosh, we have like so many co-ops, it feels like right now, that I'm still trying to get the rewards from. So I appreciate that there is not an extra co-op just for Aerith and Emperor arts or something stupid like that. So thank you, Squex, for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Illuminasa, what are your thoughts?
Well, I actually I did a first. Well, I didn't do a first try, of course. It was a fun event. I mean, it tested knowledge and whatever. And there's actually some Final Fantasies I haven't played, so I was like, I'll take a guess and I'll give it a shot. At first, I was too slow, and I ended up having to repeat the quest all over. And finally, I started getting fast enough to where, hey, I can just repeat the wave, and they'll ask a different question or whatever. I'm still kind of mad about the Yuripa question. I know she was a part of the Gullwings, but if Pa, it stands for pain, okay?
Yeah.
That it. No, I'm
that is
sorry.
That is the
yeah. Yeah. So, it was a good event. And the thing is, it was a Mino. Dang it, Mino stands for pathetic.
Does this content skew towards veterans? And I just want to use all my favorite characters, and I think you can use all your favorite characters on these two quests. So in that sense, it's really new player friendly.
Well, the good part is last night everybody was posting strategies on how to beat this quest last night.
Yeah.
Some said a BT was required, and I was trying. Yeah, I was trying to. Yeah. Either way, it was a good event. I did enjoy it, and besides, we got a free burst token out of it. I'm all for burst tokens, so I'm good with that. Back to you, Mark.
What happens if you burst?
I don't know.
That's something for the post show. Different ways to die, like AOE attacks. I bet are fun on that one. Yeah, good times. Hey, well, let's break down a couple questions here today. We'll just ask a few. Daniel asks, 0 HP damage, very classy. Yeah. Daniel asks, if you had to bring out your crystal ball and give me your best guess of what level 90 will look like, what mechanics do you think they'll add at that point? So level 80 has brought us calls and a little bit of upgrades. What do you think level 90 will bring? Arrow?
Upgrades to our C65. So like a C65 plus version, I guess, just like how we had with EX plus. It's now time for AA plus, guys. It's coming. Level 90. Here we go. AAs are coming back. Make AAs great again.
Yeah, I got the hats ordered. Illuminasa, any thoughts on level 90?
Oh, they're definitely preparing to suck our money dry out of this level 90. We have Burst Plus at this point. We're going to have either Burst Plus Plus, Super Burst, Super Hyper Ultra Burst, Tournament Edition 2. We'll have something like that, I'm sure.
CSDX says, I predict a new crystal tier. I think you're right. Level 90 EX call. Hey, well, why not? Why not? And then EX plus plus. Yeah, EX. But you have to re-pull if you sold your EXs. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for mass hysteria because you have to pull your EX again because you sold it. Never trust the company. When the company says sell your stuff, never trust them. Don't sell your LDs. Don't sell your extra burst dupes. Don't sell your EXs. Because they are going to screw you over. They're just waiting for it. They're going to trick you, and that's how they're going to do it. Hey, Blind Eye asks, with the introduction to Lufania Plus now being a thing and pretty much receiving harsh criticism from fearmongers, what? He didn't add that, I did. Have you guys had to make changes when it comes to pulls tailoring towards what might happen in the scary, scary future? Personally, no. I don't live in the future of the game that I don't play. I live in the game that I do play, and I've always been fine and continue to be fine, and I think I'll probably be fine in Lufania Plus. Obviously having Foresight's going to help a lot, but at the end of the day, we play a different game. And so by the time we get there, things are not going to be as scary, and who knows what the game's going to be like. The just every time people lose their head in Japan, the Japanese version of the game, or the community that plays the Japanese version of the game, generally English-speaking community, I just roll my eyes and go about my day because, it's just ridiculous. Always. It's just always. And sure, there are power spikes and there are things that have been tough, but at the end of the day, no, my pull plans are still the same. I pretty much wait month to month and do my pull plans then and kind of look ahead to see what we need to do. So, Arrow, have you changed your plans because of Scary Lufania Plus?
I stopped thinking about Lufania Plus because I got so mad about just reading about it and stuff that I said, screw it. I'm just going to play about a month, maybe, and with a month ahead of foresight just to kind of plan my pulls. But I honestly got to tell you guys, I don't even stick to my pull plans. I blame ADHD, tickets on everything. There you go. That's the answer to your problem. Get lucky with tickets and get everything if you're not a whale. Or, well, you can always whale. That's an easy option. So you'll have everything, and your Lufania Plus will not be an issue then because you're going to have everything. You're going to have always the best BTs, all the best synergies, and you'll just have to copy some strategies, and then you'll be all right. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Luminasa.
It did change a little bit for me, actually. The only thing that changed was my burst tokens. I've decided I'm going to try and hold off my burst tokens as much as possible. And I'm just, the only two I'm focused on getting right now is Bart's and Cloud of Darkness. I believe that's the second wave of BT pluses that come out. I believe the first wave is going to be Y'shtola and
Zidane. Yep.
Yeah. So, I've heard a lot of good about Zidane, but if I get it, that's fine. If not, that's okay too. I'm just mainly focused on the second wave, which is Bart's and Cloud of Darkness.
Yeah, I wish burst tokens didn't cap because I would be hoarding them ridiculously. I still am, but it's a little harder. Hey, Wheatgraph, thank you for the pronunciation guide. If all you other fools would do that, life would be a lot easier for me. Or maybe just have names that aren't ridiculous. Wheatgraph, I appreciate that, asks, which unit do you want to get the Tifa treatment and which one needs the Tifa treatment to bring them back? I believe Wheatgraph is saying that the Tifa treatment is making a character who kind of sucks really, really good because that's going to be what happens to Tifa. And who would you skip even if they got the Tifa treatment? Edit, now that we have it, could you call this Squall treatment too? Same idea. Yeah, Squall gets that really good Oh, it's not just you, Blart. It's so many other people. Yeah. So, Arrow, any thoughts on who really needs a super boost to greatness again?
Oh, wow, there are some characters. Fangrid? I mean, when is that dude gonna get a break? He has been late twice now, like EX Plus, one of the last. Actually, yeah, he was the last with Laguna. And then still waiting on that LD. I expect something amazing. And thank you, RVK FC, because I always forget Edgar is in this game until his name is mentioned. And that dude deserves justice. Now, if I hate a character, I don't care how good their kit gets. I'm still not going to pull. So that's my answer for the second part of that question. If I like the character and they get a nice boost, I'll pull for them. If they're a favorite, I don't care if they get the Sarah treatment in JP. I would still pull for them because they're a favorite, and I'm going to try and play them at least for the co-op they are synergy in. Anyway, that's my answer.
I like that. Yeah, I will play them for at least the co-op. Give me a break. I'm not going to bring trash characters into good content. But I'll bring them in the co-op.
At least I gotta have at least a bare minimum. So
poor Sarah.
If you really are a Sarah fan and she's your favorite, you still better pull for her, guys. I would expect nothing less.
Illuminasa, any ideas on who you'd like to get a bump?
One word, one name, Cyan.
Did Necklord pay you for that?
No, he didn't. Like I loved him in Final Fantasy VI, and ever since he's came to Defo, he has been absolute garbage.
Yeah,
he needs something, and if he got the Tifa treatment, oh yeah, I would definitely pull on it, and I would definitely set him as support for the rest of my days. I don't even care.
Well, I personally cannot wait for Laguna's burst weapon. I think Rem has data mined that. You can check with Rem later at DissidiaDB, support the good work that he does. But yeah, I'm really pumped for that, man, with the machine gun music kicking in. Big fat damage. Big fat damage, like bazookas, grenades, just the kitchen sink of artillery being thrown out there. Maybe Warden Kairos will come in and kind of add some extra support in there. As you know, BT finishers have often brought in other characters, and so I'd like to see that. Bring the trio back there, man with the machine gun. Yeah, and is there anybody I wouldn't pull on regardless? I'm thinking about pulling on Porum, and I've already pulled on Hope. And who else do I hate in this game? Yeah, maybe Waka. I kind of hate Waka. So I'll pull on whoever's good. If they make a broken character, I'll pull on them. I don't care. Hey, well, let's do one more. We'll do a couple more. Kashura asks, can you imagine doing the podcast during a more European-friendly time once in a while? And Mark is the root of all evil. Yes. No. Sorry. It is what it is. SS Vegito asks, what future LD weapon are you looking forward to the most? Arrow, what's your next big hype LD pull?
Waka is actually coming, and I am very hyped. I know you're not, Mark, but Trey and Waka are at the end of the month. I'm pulling for both with gems. It is already in the plans. So, yeah, I guess that would be the next LDs. Illuminasa.
I'm actually really blind when it comes to future pulls. I take things 1 month at a time, and to be honest with you, the only thing I was looking forward to for the past few months is Squall's rework, and I've gotten that. I'm happy right now. I guess the next LD I'll get is Tifa, just because it's more of a QOL than anything, because summon boards are going to be extremely easy. Just throw her in there and just let her beat them up.
Yeah, she goes to town on the summon boards, that's for sure. Thankfully, we did get the early Auto Plus, but we won't have her for Divine Alexander yet. But we will have her for Divine Brothers for sure. But if you want to hold off on Divine Divine Alexander will be Golbez, Shadow, Laguna, Hope, Vivi, Thancred. That's a rough that's a rough bunch of characters to bring to. Who's got? Well, no, we got Vivi early. So early Vivi LD is going to help there. But so the only LD characters we're going to have are Hope, Golbez, and Vivi. But that might be enough. I think we'll be able to auto plus with Vivi LD spam. That's going to be nice. Yeah. So if you picked up Vivi, you're going to be okay there. Well, thank you all for joining us. We'll hang around in the post show for a little bit. But this has been episode 146 of the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. Remember to like, sub, ring the bell for notifications, support us on Twitch with a follow and a sub. Appreciate all your support. TCCpodcast.com for all the links to our social media and join our Discord. Check it out. It's a really cool place. Arrow, how can we get in touch with you and watch your content?
Yeah, I am on YouTube as Leiley, Leillee on YouTube, and that's it. I'm working on other places to be found, but as of now, it's just YouTube. Luminasa.
Same here. I'm on Twitch, Twitch TV /Illuminasa. You can find the same name, Illuminasa, on YouTube, and find other content, Lufanias, anything like that.
Next week on the 8th of April, I believe Kreese will be back, and I think Infamous Element may be joining us as well. And we will be covering Eldnarsh and Aranea. Until then, friends, best of luck to all of you. Good luck on your polls. Let us know how you did. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.